Task 1.4. Understanding legal, regulatory, and compliance issues that pertain to information security in a holistic context. And remember, if I don't go deep enough for you on any concept, just use the prompt that we provide at the end of every presentation. Get as deep as you need. Let's move on. In this section, we'll be covering 6 crucial subtasks. 1. Cybercrimes and data breaches. 2. Licensing and intellectual property requirements. 3. Import and export controls. 4. Transborder data flow. 5. Issues related to privacy. And 6. Contractual, legal, industry standards, and regulatory requirements. Remember, these concepts aren't isolated. They're an interconnected part of a holistic security system. So you'll notice some repetition across the different tasks, but this is intentional and it helps reinforce the key concepts. Alright, let's get into our first subtask, which focuses on cybercrimes and data breaches. This is a critical area for anyone aiming to pass the CISSP exam because understanding these concepts is foundational to the entire field of cybersecurity. The definition of a cybercrime. Cybercrimes refer to illegal activities that are conducted via the internet or using a computer or any network or computer device. These crimes can range from identity theft to fraud to hacking and distributing malicious software. A classic example of cybercrime is phishing, where attackers deceive individuals into providing sensitive information like login credentials or credit card numbers. The impact of data breaches on organizations can be devastating. It's not just about the immediate loss of data, though that's significant, but also about the long-term consequences. A breach can lead to financial losses, legal penalties, and severe damage to the organization's reputation. For example, the Equifax breach in 2017 exposed the personal information of over 147 million people, leading to massive loss of trust and a $700 million settlement. Legal repercussions and penalties for cybercrimes and data breaches can vary depending on the jurisdiction, but they typically include hefty fines and in some cases imprisonment for the individuals responsible. Companies can face lawsuits and regulatory bodies might impose penalties, as seen in cases involving GDPR violations, where fines can reach up to 4% of a company's global annual revenue. Measures to prevent and respond to cybercrimes. Preventing and responding to cybercrimes requires a multi-layered approach. This includes implementing strong security policies, using encryption, regular regulatory security audits, ensuring employees are trained to recognize potential threats. It's also vital to have an incident response plan in place. The plan should outline the steps to take immediately following a breach, including how to contain the breach, assess the damage, and notify the affected parties. Case study. Let's look at a case study to look at these concepts in action. SolarWinds breach in 2020 is a prime example. Hackers infiltrated the systems of SolarWinds, a major IT management company, and used their software to access the networks of several U.S. government agencies and private companies. The breach went undetected for months, illustrating the importance of continuous monitoring and the potential scale of cybercrimes. The response to this breach involved a massive effort to secure systems and assess the extent of the damage, and we're still working on it. So conclusion, understanding cybercrimes and data breaches is not just about passing the CISSP exam. It's about preparing to defend your organization against some of the most significant threats in today's digital landscape. As we move forward, keep in mind how these concepts tie into a broader framework of information security. They're not isolated issues, part of a complex, interconnected system that you'll need to master for your CISSP exam and for your career. Licensing and intellectual property requirements. Moving on to licensing, this subtask covers the importance of software and technology licensing, an overview of the intellectual property laws, common licensing models, proprietary or open source, the risks of non-compliance, and strategies to manage and enforce licensing agreements. For the CISSP exam, you need to understand the different types of intellectual property, patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Each has its own protection mechanisms and legal implications. Licensing is crucial in the software world. Be familiar with terms like the generic public license, or GNU, GPL, MIT license, and proprietary licenses. Understand the obligations and restrictions that come with each. Non-compliance with licensing agreements can lead to legal issues and financial penalties. As a security professional, you should be able to advise on strategies to manage licenses effectively, such as maintaining a software inventory and regular audits. The subtask connects with Domain 3, Security Architecture and Engineering, when discussing software development and acquisition. Import and export controls. This subtask covers the definition and significance of import and export controls, key regulations governing import-export of technology, impact on cybersecurity tools and technologies, compliance strategies for global operations, examples of violations and their consequences. Import-export controls are crucial in the realm of cybersecurity, especially when dealing with encryption technologies. The primary regulation you need to be familiar with is the Export Administration Regulation, EAR, in the U.S., which controls the export of dual-use technologies. For the CISSP exam, understand the concept of deemed exports when foreign nationals access controlled technologies within the U.S. Also, be aware of the Wassenaar Agreement, an international agreement on export controls for conventional arms and dual-use goods and technologies. Compliance strategies might include obtaining necessary licensings, implementing technology control plans, and training employees on export control requirements. The topic deals closely with Domain 5, Identity and Access Management, when discussing cryptography and key management. Transborder data flow. This subtask covers the explanation of transborder data flow, challenges and risks associated with international data transfers, key regulations affecting data flow, for example, GDPR or Privacy Shield, mechanisms to ensure compliance, for example, standard contractual clauses, and a case study, managing data flow in a multinational organization. Transborder data flow refers to the transfer of personal data across national boundaries. It's a critical concept in our globalized digital world. For the CISSP exam, you should understand the main challenges: differing privacy laws, data localization requirements, and potential government surveillance. Be familiar with major regulations like the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and its requirements for international data transfers. Know about mechanisms for compliant data transfers, such as standard contractual clauses, SCCs, binding corporate rules, BCRs, and adequacy decisions. The topic is closely related to the next subtask on privacy issues and also connects with Domain 5, Identity and Access Management, when discussing data protection. Issues related to privacy. This subtask covers an overview of the major regulations, the differences and similarities between GDPR, CCPA, PIPL, and POPIA, the impact of privacy regulations on businesses, key requirements for compliance, and best practices for managing privacy. For the CISSP exam, you need to be familiar with key privacy regulations worldwide. The EU's GDPR is crucial, but also understanding others like California Consumers Privacy Act, CCPA, China's Personal Information Protection Law, PIPL, and South Africa's Protection of Personal Information Act, POPIA. Know the core principles these laws share, that is, consent, purpose limitation, data minimalization, and individual rights like the right to access and delete data. Understand how these regulations impact businesses, including requirements for data protection officers, privacy impact assessments, and breach notification procedures. This topic is deeply interconnected with many other domains, especially Domain 3, Security Architecture and Engineering, and Domain 5, Identity and Access Management. Contractual, legal, industry standards, and regulatory requirements. This subtask covers the importance of adhering to contractual and legal obligations, an overview of key industry standards, for example, NIST and the ISO, regulatory compliance requirements for different sectors, the role of security policies and procedures in compliance, strategies for staying updated with changing regulations. For the CISSP exam, understand that compliance is not just about following laws, but also about meeting contractual obligations and industry standards. Be familiar with key standards like 27001, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and PCI DSS. Know that different sectors have specific regulations like HIPAA for healthcare, Sarbanes-Oxley for public companies, GLBA for financial institutions. Understand the role of security policies and procedures in ensuring compliance. Remember, compliance is an ongoing process. Be prepared to discuss strategies for staying updated, such as subscribing to regulatory updates, attending conferences, and participating in professional organizations. The subtask ties together many concepts across the CISSP domains, emphasizing the holistic nature of information security. Alright, summary, let's wrap up. We covered some key points like legal and regulatory considerations must be integrated into security planning. Continuous monitoring and updates are crucial for maintaining compliance. Staying informed and proactive in managing compliance. And remember that compliance significantly impacts the overall security posture. These topics are interconnected and form a crucial part of the CISSP body of knowledge. As you prepare for the exam, think about how these concepts apply in real-world scenarios and how they relate to other domains. All right, time to test your knowledge. Remember, play with that prompt. Tweak the number of questions, tweak the subtasks, tweak anything, and once you start a chat, you're allowed to just say, hey, can you make it more about this subject? Or Larry didn't go deep enough here. Good luck, everybody.